It's all good. It's all good.
Okay. I
Um,
heard there was an article today in the newspaper. Is that true
yeah,
about?
they managed to have an article on a newspaper. That's great. I was so excited
Yeah,
about that.
that's nice. Yeah, great.
Yeah, to be honest, it's a great show. Like I think it deserves the best. Like all all advertising that we can get.
Yeah, I like it very much too. Even I should not say that. It's too
Well,
not modest,
if
but
you
I
do,
like the show.
yeah, if you do, you do. You can do nothing about it.
All right.
How is it going today?
Um,
Were you running busy?
Fine. Yeah. With a friend, I helped a friend in a project which
Oh,
is
okay.
going to be in Shanghai. In
Oh,
Shanghai, it's a drawing project, and there should be a calligrapher engaged, and I'm going to help her with this
nice.
connection.
Yeah, I'll definitely want to ask you about that later, because I saw some of your work. Obviously,
Mm,
they're based on the China kind of word, like, so really curious about that. But
mm,
first of all, let's start. In today's episode we have Andreas, and
mhm.
it's a pleasure for me to have this little chat with you. You seem so nice since I met you, and I I hope you enjoy the opening night, the whole process with front views, and yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you very much to asking me, and I feel very honored to be here, and I really appreciated the whole process of setting up the exhibition, because all the colleagues were so not just nice, but very interested in other artists' works,
mm,
but at the same time being concentrated, doing their work. And it was really a very good and atmosphere of respect, and also of a really ongoing good feeling while doing the work. And this is super. Yeah.
yeah, as we are talking about the whole process, it was really interesting to see, because obviously it's a CHARTA number one, and it's in front views in Berlin, and it's because it's like installation, and most of the artists, they came to the gallery to install the artworks. It was
Mhm.
such a honor to see all the artists working and how they were thinking, and like the whole process in their mind. It was so interesting, and I think it was such a great experience, even like personal experience. Like for me,
Mhm.
I was super happy to be there and to running around to help everybody, and it was such a good. But before we get into the whole art conversation, why you don't introduce yourself to the audience so everyone can get to know you better?
All right, then I begin. My name is Andreas Schmid, and I'm an artist, but also I'm curating sometimes Chinese, especially Chinese contemporary art. And I'm also writing about art, especially drawing in space, and
Mm.
also about Chinese contemporary art, because I studied in China from 1983 to 1986, Chinese calligraphy. And while doing so, I got to know very interesting and super interesting artists, young artists who
Mm.
claimed who they wanted to do a new work, a new kind of work, and it was right directly after the Cultural Revolution. So it was super interesting, and I decided to to show them here in Germany, and so I succeeded with the help of friends to show Chinese contemporary art in 1993 in the House of World Cultures. And
Oh,
at the
that's
same
great.
time, I developed my own art into space, from line
Mm.
into space.
Yeah, and that's what you showed in front views, and yeah. Now, yeah, I want to talk about the installation, because it's super curious how your mind work and everything. But first of all, how did you cope? Because obviously your practice is like you need to be in space and you need to be in the location, and you do I saw that you do like drawings and stuff like that. But how did you cope with lockdown? Because obviously you had to, usually you go to places and make the installation. How do you manage to, you just focus on something else and during the lockdown, or?
Yeah, it was it's a good question, because it's, I think for many artists they had a difficult time last year.
Hmm.
And I'm first of all, I'm grateful that we were not hit by the virus directly. Me and my family, and also my friends, most of my friends are not hit by the virus. So I'm very grateful for that. But on the other hand, it had partly a hard time because all the exhibitions were postponed or even canceled. And it was not easy. The first half year, especially, was very hard. From February, March on, from the lockdown on, and also even teaching. I'm teaching Chinese calligraphy in Dresden, and this at first was also postponed, or it was courses were canceled. So this was a hard situation, I have to say, not easy. And then it came slowly but surely again. Yeah, while the gallery said, okay, you can one by one make your installation, or one by one, or only two in a space can build up their works, and then the next day or after 2 days the other come. It's like just like this. You have to be a little bit mobile. You have to be open and flexible to work, to adapt. Exactly.
Yeah.
And for the money, it was hard, but it's slowly but surely going. And I was lucky to be. I was chosen in a jury, to be member of a jury, of a Corona jury grants from the Kunstfonds, from the German Kunstfonds, and it's it at least you earn some money somehow, but it's a side track, let's say.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Direct track, yeah. And on the other hand, I work in the studio on paperworks too, because I like to do paperworks too, and working on my archive, for example. This many friends did, I have to say.
Yeah, I can imagine everyone was like more doing logistic and
exactly
the work that we never do during the during the practice, because we're like, oh, I want to do stuff, I don't want to write or make a timetable or something like that. Like it's more like it's more hands-on work that you want to do. But that's super interesting, the Chinese connection that you have. And how did you always been so interested in the China culture, or is that something that grew on you? Is because you went to live there, so you go involved in the Chinese culture, or is it something that you always had?
I have to say that I had it from my childhood somehow. It's my grandfather had been to China for 30 years, so I had a connection, a familiar connection, but this is only one hand. And later, it was not like that. I wanted to go to China always, but I had a connection at least. And then after studying, or after I just finished my studies, and I found out that I like to work with the line as a basic graphics. And then I saw an exhibition of a Japanese collection of Buddhist monks from last two centuries in Cologne. And that made me, that hit me really like I said, oh, this is what I want to add to my studies. I would like to study. And then I acquired for a grant to go to China to study calligraphy, Chinese calligraphy. Japanese would also have been possible, but because I had this family roots, I thought, it's good to go to the mother country of calligraphy, to go to China. And then I was lucky to be able to go there for 3 years.
That's great. Yeah, you definitely need to teach me something calligraphy. Like I always find that so fascinated. I remember since I was like really young, I always went to YouTube or like find some videos and see even those like big ones they do with like those big kind of mop kind of
Yeah.
looking. Yeah, it's like, it's so, the whole movement, the whole process, so fascinating. I don't even know why, to be honest, because yeah, Asian obviously it's such a different culture, and China is such a different culture. So I think that's why it's like the difference between our culture, their culture,
That's true.
kind of like yeah, make you really curious and interested. Especially if you, I love drawing and the whole paper and ink kind of. So I think that's why I'm drawn a little bit more on that kind of aspect. But yeah, always, and yeah, you need to teach me something.
It's so fascinating because it's, on one hand, it's like you my teacher always said, you write black but you think white always. And it's simple, but it's very, very pure what it is. It's the relationship of the lines, and the lines, the space in between lines, the black and white relationship in one character, and also in relationship to the other character, and even more in the rhythm of the whole whole sheet. Yeah, what you do
Yeah.
with the whole writing. And so, because you cannot correct it, you cannot go again. So it's, you have to do it once, and then it's at the moment. This is a wonderful thing, because it's a
Yeah.
drawing line in the space and creating space and creating relationship, which is rhythmical and kind of music even nearly, because you have to be, and it's related also to body. There's a second, because it's not only the your hand or something, but it comes out from dantian, from your body. The chi, or the the
Yeah.
spirit goes. It's really a connection. It's not, and I'm not esoterical at all. Yeah, I'm very normally a very logical, but here it's a power that comes, or a direct connection of the brush and you as a person, as a body, as a brain, as a everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you show everything. And this is interesting. Yeah. Of course, there is a lot of technical things to learn. Yeah. This is
Yeah.
takes time. But the other thing also, what we can learn is that you listen to yourself too, while making the line. And also then in the end, you learn about rhythm and in the whole sheet and putting it on the wall, or even, and this drove me to installation work with lines in space,
Yeah.
in outdoor space and indoor space.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what your practice is focused on, like those line installation. Is how did you start the whole process?
In hand or generally?
In hand, if you want to talk in
Yeah,
particular in hand, or in general, if you had a
yeah,
particular
yeah,
occasion.
yeah. It's always like this, that I take everything what in the location into account. It's not it's in my mind. It's not first a disturbing moment. Nothing is disturbing or an obstacle, but
Okay.
it's part of the drawing. Will be part of the drawing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is for my work. It's very important. So it's basic to go to the space and to have a look first, and not only one glimpse, 10 minutes, but be for a longer time. You take your time, you look carefully to this into the space, you different positions, and then I do for documentary, I do some photos, but the photos are always also another thing because it says something else. It's a flat thing, yeah. So it's another thing, but you have to keep in mind what it is, and I take it into account. So they are part of the game. Yeah, all obstacles, all things like the heating and everything are parts of the game, of the drawing. And then I begin and make a relationship between architecture, space, and the different positions.
Okay.
And the setting of the it could be different media. I'm also working with light, and that's different, but it needs more more time and also more financial basic. But I'm also working with a cut in the wall, or with sculptural things. And this in Hound, it was adhesive tape and string.
Yeah.
And I like to work because it really works well together with the wall, and also the string is a very fine method to have a fine instrument.
Yeah, I like when the work, especially I think that's why I really like this show, because it's the simplest but super effective kind of artworks that we did exhibit, and it's literally just lines and black and white. It's really simple, obviously in quotes, but it's so effective, and your artwork is the perfect example. It goes all the way through the staircase, and is so simple, but it literally I feel like that every time you get to see it, you spot a different new line and different new thing that you didn't notice at the first time. And so it's so like I really like it. It's so interesting, and obviously seeing you put it up and going down, put it up again and take it off and move it, and it was so much fun to see it. It was so nice. And yeah, sorry, carry on with
Yeah, no, you are totally right. And it seems to be crazy because it's only lines. And then my way to say something is also more silent, not very loud, so that it's also it's a one thing and another thing. But what I'm eager to express is also that you see that you are offered different ways of getting new impressions of the space, or new views of the space, and not one view which is the general super view, and then you go further on, and then there is not really a good view again. I like to have as many as I can produce interesting views, which gives you and makes you an offer to think about it, or to see, or to I like that it's an offer, that it's not saying this is like this and like this. It can be, and I have respect to other artists, but I'm more in a silent way. But then when you go more often, or you go up and down, and then you go up and down again, you always can have a new look on things. Yeah. And that is, so it's also important, like in calligraphy, the setting of this strings, or how short they are, which angle they make. It's so important. If you change the angle only on 2%, two grades or something, it's really can have an enormous impact on the whole wall. And I'm really fascinated by this, because you could, with very little means, and with little changes, you can really make
change
big,
the whole. How did you decide the how long and where the exactly position? It's more like a feeling that you have with the space, and it's more like a logical in your mind, kind of like that's makes sense for me, and that's what it is. How do you decide?
It's a very interesting question, because I have enough my colleagues who are working with mathematic things, thoughts. They use mathematics, or they use logics, or very different. It's a 1 to 3 or 1 to 10, or the golden cut, or something like this. And for me, it seems to be it's the experience of seeing. It's so it's not just to say, I'm today happy, so I make this kind of thing. I really am not for that, but for the looking experience or making experience with spaces and architecture. I love to interrupt or to make some obstacles. I produce some obstacle, but obstacle to open something new. So but this is not, it does not depend on mathematics or on a special a program or something I put on the walls. I always try to develop a new one if possible, which could be said to be an emotional view, but it's not just an emotional view. It's more an experienced view, which is very difficult to describe, but overall
I know what you mean. I think it's a sort of a really subtle difference, but I know I think you make it clear what it means. And it's really curious to see what, because in the show that we have Esther Stocker, and she used in this case as well, like you, tape. And she had a like you said, some artists do a mathematic more kind of artworks. And for example, like she's the perfect example. She used basically the same material that you used, but in such a it was supposed to be like that, and you could not make any different. It was supposed to be 18 centimeters by 17.8 centimeter every single square, and it's like obviously that's how she works, and it was fine, and we did it. And it makes you think how you use this. You can use the same material, the same space basically, but in such a different way, and you change completely the space by intervening with this like everyday object, like a tape. And it's so interesting. It's so interesting. And seeing your two works almost next to each other, it's really, really interesting. And I think it makes it's the show. I just love the show. But it's it's super interesting. But
I also like Esther's work. No, I also like Esther's work because it's a conceptual approach, a little bit different approach of it in a conceptuality, and I think it's the effect is also really interesting. And together with her partner, she did with the ropes. Anna Maria. It created again a new
space.
New space, exactly.
A
new work.
In a romantic, like if you want to put it like in a romantic way, you basically have a unique space for a short amount of time, and after that it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be like that anymore. So if you go there, experience that space in that way, because it's never going to be like that anymore. After the exhibition, it's such like a romantic way of thinking, but I love it. It's so like so unique as an experience. And you mentioned the light work that you do. Is that the same kind of process in your mind when you do the light work, or you put something else in account to see how you're gonna change the space?
That is if it's mostly of my light works are in public spaces, and you have always to take into account that there are users, that it's for use partly, or that there are users, people who want, or ordinary people who go into these spaces. And so it's two parts. It's on one hand my approach. It's also the also with architecture, and sure, it's architecture and movement, and this movement is very important also because I do it with a neon tubes and with electric. I do programming of how the light runs, in intensity, change in intensity of light, and it changed in time, in a special time, from a 1/4 of a second to 2 seconds. It's always changing. And I like this also very much, because it has something to do with my free work, and on the other hand, it has to do with what's demanded, that they need the amount of light to be safe, or which is asked for. And on the other hand, I can also make big changes. And this is very interesting. And it's outside, sometimes it's outside of a building, you see it from far. And then it's inside of the building, but different, like in a museum in Stuttgart, Stuttgart Kunstmuseum. And it's the whole first floor, or the ground floor. So it has a coffee. It has the selling the tickets. It has the wardrobe. It has everything. It has a big hall, and the stairways to the second floor, and so always has to be taken into account. And I have 9 groups of altogether 332 neon tubes, lights. Very fast neon lights. It's a neon tubes. It's a tube, and it's they are working very fine with white light, only white light. But I can change it in the intensity. So
I can imagine it's to be so much pre-work on because as you said, it's not just an artistic installation. It needs to be useful. You need to actually use the light to, as you said, see and whatever they need to the light for, and you need to put in account every single thing that is there. If there is a shop, the shop needs to be bright, or like it's so there's so much thinking behind. If as when you see it, you don't realize how much pre-thinking and pre-work it's planning, like before even putting the first light. It's so much work and so interesting.
I worked two years on the whole installation, and I have I think 60,000 times I put in the computer, 60,000 for the programming, because it was so much. And we have a cable. We helped to put the cable into the roof, and it was 50 kilometers of cable. 15. It's incredible. 50 kilometers. It was one of the biggest projects, so it took a lot of time. But the good thing was that I started to work before the building existed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you work with the planning, the blueprint,
with the architects, with the architects and with the engineers. But this is the only thing to get one result, which is really a light which is really fitting to the building. You don't think it's just an addition after.
It wasn't in this case, it wasn't something that you add to the building. It's something that was supposed to be there from the beginning, and they're gonna use these lights. That's so.
And it's the ideal, somehow ideal condition for me, because it's the best if you have a good relationship, or you discuss and find a relationship with the architects and the engineers and the city. Then you can really. Also, you always can learn from them, because I learn from them, they learn from me. So with a discussion, I also change some things. But I don't make like you say, you have to make compromises all the time. No, it's not like this. It's you get to a result together, which I like. And I come more and more that we have to come together to results, not only the egos.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's that's always when there is a team, you always a little bit afraid that will happen. But it's so interesting, because as you you said literally 5 minutes ago, you were saying that you need to be on in the location to see, to experience the location. But in this case, you don't even had the building, you didn't even had nothing like real. You just needed to adapt your way of thinking to this new experience that you're gonna have, like planning something that it doesn't not exist. It's not it's not easy.
It's really hard.
Yeah, it's not easy at all.
I have also to say, I have to, in this case also, it was very good that I had two very good assistants. Or my light technician, because I cannot be aware of every technical thing. I cannot do
for
that.
sure. Yeah,
I'm not electrician or something like this. And this person also, you have in Stuttgart, they have a sign now that it's my work, Andreas Schmid, but also and under it also technical thing,
support,
not
technical
only
help,
support, but
yeah.
it's technical how you say, technical realization. And then is the name of my this colleague who was, without him I could not have done it. I'm the creative part, but he's also the creative part in another way, in a technical part. So I had to.
That's so nice, because as a artist, not many artists will say stuff like that. Not many artists will, as they, especially if such a big project, they will not care. They will not really care if the technician was there on the wall with them. It's so nice from you to make sure that he was recognized in some ways, and it was such even you saying it right now, that he was such a big help. It's not that common. So I'm so happy that you're such a great person, that you don't have that ego that, I was the artist, that was my biggest project, I did it alone, it was me. No, it's really good that you have that kind of attitude. That's it's not that easy find it.
Thank you, but I think it should be that way, because they make it really, in this such big project, it's not only a help, it's part of the project. So we are a team kind of, and I don't mind, I'm still the artist, but they are still also the who made it possible.
And the technician.
And this is not just a little help. If it's sometimes with somebody helps me with a little installation, then an electrician could do it, and then I have a help of an electrician, and it not necessarily be named or
obviously there is level of
but in these big projects where you need more than just being a technician somehow, but you have to think with me all the time. And also discussing things and say, this light could be too strong, or could be too dim. And I make you a proposal, and they make a proposal, and then you see what kind. But they have to create the idea. Maybe there are smaller ones which are more good or better, or maybe thicker neon tubes which are better. So I have the possibility by this offer to decide, maybe he's right. So this is a, for me, it's a equality.
No, it's great. I was curious to ask you, like, how did your practice change during time? Did the because you have such a vast range of artworks and installation. How did he change, and how did they evolve the practice?
No, I began my studies in art school or academy, and it was a painting and drawing. And then I extended this knowledge about line. I wanted to see the line of China, and then I went to China to see the line, but also at the same time I got this inspiration by the Chinese philosophy and the background of calligraphy and the space related things. And then also after coming back, I combined some painting. I combined the painting and also I also painted the edge of the frame and things like that. And also going into space somehow, also with strings. I made sometimes works only with strings, but this was so hard to take photo of that I was really, I was very unhappy because I could not send it to somebody. It's at that time there was no, not yet computer or something. There was nothing, so it was hard to declare or explain this artwork. Yeah, and they say, "Oh, what are you doing? It's hardly to see anything," and then, but it changed. It changed to the whole space, not only the wall, but the whole space. But nevertheless, I'm always interested in also making small drawing or sketches, or making the change or the programming or so, writing the sketches about programming, and also doing big wall things, and also calligraphy. I still do for myself, and working with some things, teaching that. And also whole time is also photography, which is partly documentation of works and partly developing new works while taking photos. Yeah, which have something to do with light, with line and space.
Yeah,
and
like the two picture that you decided to put up on in FrontViews. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
It's the beautiful picture. And is how, because obviously how are you, how and why are you drawn to the subject, like the line? Is that because the Asian influence that you had, or it was something that you wanted to explore before? How come?
No, it was before already.
Mm.
I found out that I did a lot of things with lines and different things in space already while painting in the art academy. I developed some things on the canvas, which like, I say, abstract movements and things going on. And I thought that even the color line have their different speeds. Kandinsky was writing once about it, and also some Russian artists and researchers about the speed of different color lines. And I was very much interested in that too, but also in space. Line and space I was really interested in, and so I came to go to China. And on the other hand, it's always the space was always important for me. It is something in space to go into another, into other layers of space and time. So it's a performativity. Like in an installation, you go up the chairs, and then you and then you find out, while moving, there's always a little bit different artwork, kind of, or view of the artwork. Yeah, so I'm very much interested in this working, and I'm very much also in music. And music is one of the things which I really like, and it's from Feldman or Cage or Nono or.
Do you use music during your practice?
Sometimes, yes. Yeah, I once did a piece for 16 neon bulbs together with a composer. And she composed a piece of 4 trumpets and tape. And we talked to each other, and then we had some base words, some basic words, and the keywords, and then we said, okay, now we take half a year, and everybody is working on her project, and then we meet again and tell us what we do. And after half years, he said, I would do something with 4 trumpets and a trumpet quartet for Stockhausen and a tape. And I said, I make something for 16 neon tubes. And then we put together this, but we didn't want to interpret the other's work. I didn't want to interpret her music, and she didn't want to interpret my work. So we just had a confrontation in a good way. Exactly. When the opening, there was a trumpet quartet there with a tape. And later is with a CD from the ceiling.
I would love to see the sketchbook that you have. They must be incredible. I love like sketchbook. I think it's the best part of an artist practice. Sketch, I would love to see yours one day.
That would very valuable. I invite you to come to studio.
That would be great. Yeah, I'll definitely come.
You will come. Yeah,
definitely. Andreas, it was such an honor. I don't want to take too much of your time. It's such a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much to be part of the podcast. And
thank you very much for your question, and thank you asking me. And I'm very happy to be part of the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Andreas. Hey. I'll see you soon. To the studio.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. So, guys, that was Andrea. What a great episode. You can find his work in Front Views in Berlin. If you're around Berlin, if you're in Berlin, please go and check it out. The show is called CHARTA #1. I helped with the curating of the show. And please go and check it out, Front Views. And again, subscribe to the channel. And there are links below where you can find the artist website. And you can go and check it out and read more about the artist. Thank you again, Andreas, for the ARTFUL podcast. I'm out.